Hey, this is Caden. This is my first video. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be comparing the early versions of Baldi to the later versions. I'm not including Plus or Birthday Bash, only the early version, then the later version. So like 1.22 is the earliest one I have on this PC. And then I don't remember the other version, I'm sorry. But it's definitely with the new updates. It's like 1.3 something, 1.33 maybe. No, I don't think that's it. But anyways, Baldi is a game that no one really talks about anymore. Some people do play Plus, but no one really talks about the original game. And I'm going to be explaining the differences. So, first off, the one that most people talk about is the later version has a new character, First Prize. It also has File Name 2 in the secret ending. So those are two new characters. People talk about those all the time, but there's way more differences. So, just small ones to start. Well, actually, no, let's start with the bigger ones. The ones that most people know about. So, the main ones are probably, Baldi in the early game, in the earlier versions, goes a lot faster at the end, and people consider that to be the much harder version. Because it's also harder, because there are a lot more items missing. Like the safety scissors, one of the best items in the game, where you cut playtime's rope. It's a really good item. And people really don't like that's not in the first version. And again, Baldi goes really fast. So like if you're getting caught by playtime in the second half of the game, it's done. It's over. You're not getting through that. Another thing is, this is a very minor one, but in the early versions, the principal does not allow you to eat food in the halls. It's not allowed, but in the later ones, you can do that just fine. Okay. Now, we're gonna do some more minor ones. Okay, the next one is the modes. So, in the original, once you press play, you're right into the game. You just start it. There's no options besides sensitivity on your mouse cursor. But in the later versions, there's endless mode, which you can try and get as many notebooks as you can. And it gets faster over time, instead of when you get the last question wrong. Because in endless mode, you can get all three right. Except on the second notebook, third question. Because that's the impossible one. Another very minor one is in the earlier versions. In the top left, up here, there is usually 0 out of 7, or 1 out of 7, or however many you have. But it does not say notebooks. It doesn't. In the later ones, it does. That's another minor one. Another minor one is outside. In the original, it's kind of like just a black, orange, blue skybox. In the later ones, it's more of like, kind of like a small yard. You know what I mean? And there's clouds. It's a lot more there's a lot more decor in it. Okay, next we're going to talk about all the items. So, we've already talked about the safety scissors, which, again, a lot of people don't like that they're in the first version. The other two items that aren't in the first version, you know what, we'll include a little bit of Birthday Bash here. Because there's one item in Birthday Bash that isn't in any of the other versions. That's the teleportation teleporter, which is a very rare item that you get, and it teleports you around the map until eventually it teleports you a bunch of times until you stop. It's not in any other version. But the items that are missing from the earlier versions are big ol' boots, WD nose squee, safety scissors, and what's the other one? Alarm clock. And big ol' boots lets you bypass First Prize and gotta sweep, or janitor, whatever you want to call it. WD no squee, the door makes it silent so Baldi can't hear you. Safety scissors cuts playtime's rope. And for the alarm clock, it has about 30 seconds to go off And when it does go off, if Baldi does not see you, if you're not in sight, he will get distracted and go to the alarm clock. Another minor thing is the bully. It's a bully. That character is, in the original, he would spawn in some pretty bad places. You know, the long corridor? He could spawn like there. But in the newer ones, he only spawns in like optional hallways. Rarely will he spawn in something like the long corridors. There's about two more things. There is only a B soda machine in the earlier versions. But in the later ones, they added a Zesty Bar machine. Which, there's only 2 B soda machines and only 1 Zesty Bar machine. The Zesty Bar machine is in the school faculty by the detention room, which there's also the principal's keys and the WD No Squee. And the B sodas are in the hallway with the lockers next to the detention room and in the cafeteria. The last thing I'm gonna do is explain all the items and what they do. First is the B soda, which is probably the most well-known item in Baldi. This one is simple, just right click or use the item button if you're using the mobile version. You know what, I'm gonna refer to just the PC versions. You right click to use your B soda and it sprays away any enemy. Next is the energy flavored Zesty Bar. And yes, that's what it's called. It's not the Zesty flavored energy bar, it's the other way around. But anyways, this gives you, basically, it fills up your stamina bar and it gives you another invisible stamina bar. Bleh. Can't talk. Next is the swinging door lock, which in the later versions was changed to the yellow door lock to make it more specific and easier to understand, because this locks any door that's yellow for about 30 seconds. So no one can get through and they'll be forced to go around another way. Next is the principal's keys, and most people get this item mistaken all the time. They always think, this can upset me sometimes, they always think you use it to escape the school. You don't. You don't even need it. Unless you want to use it as the item, of course. Which, what happens is, you go to detention, and if you have principal's keys, you can escape detention. The thing is, you cannot run, you can't enter faculty, you can't eat in the earlier versions, you cannot drink B soda, you can't drink soda, you can't fourth wall break, which is not possible. It's just a little funny gag, but you can't escape detention. So if he catches you, if he sees you while your detention time is still going down, you're going back to detention. Now, this is probably the first item you'll encounter in Baldi, unless you get one of the problems on the first notebook wrong, is the quarter. This basically can be used on multiple items, like the B soda machines, the Zesty Bar machines, and the phone. And the last item, and the last thing we're going to talk about, is the Baldi anti-hearing and disorienting, which was later changed to Baldi anti-hearing and disorienting tape, which has the same result as the phone, which what happens is, it lasts for about 1 minute to 30 seconds, and what it does is it makes it so Baldi cannot hear, he doesn't know where you're at, and usually, let's say this item is good when you get sent to detention, because that's where the tape player is, so that's where you put the tape in. So, if you get sent to detention, usually he knows you're in detention every single time. He'll go right there. But if you put that tape in, he can't hear, he disorients, and he has no idea where you're at. Anyways, that was my first YouTube video. The camera is a little bit bad quality, and I wish I could show some gameplay, but that's all I can do for now. Bye.